everybody, welcome back to another home learning video for Edinburgh class. So this week we're going to look at another Greek myth. The Greek myth we're going to have a look at this week is Icarus and Daedalus. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to look this week at the Greek myth Daedalus and Icarus. Let's have a look at the front cover from the Greek myths book that we've been reading. So on the front cover here, the ones that I've been reading have been from the Orchard Greek myths. This here is Icarus, this little boy here. What do you think he is doing? So this is the first thing I want you to have a go at. Task 1, write a prediction. What do you think is going to happen in this story? Using only the clues we've got there on the front cover. So I've told you that that's Icarus. And your first job is to write a prediction of what you think will happen. So pause the video while you do that, and then we will read the story of Icarus and Daedalus. Okay, so this is the story of Icarus. There's a little bit of a different picture here. So he's definitely a boy with some wings. A long time ago, there was a man named Daedalus. He lived on the island of Crete with his son Icarus. Daedalus was a very clever craftsman who invented all sorts of things. One day, the king asked Daedalus to invent a maze from which no one could escape. So have a think back. Why do you think King Minos might have asked Daedalus to invent a maze? What was his reason? So use the clues you've got in the story there. Why do you think he might have asked him to invent a maze? Daedalus worked hard to build the king a winding, twisting maze. Maybe you might remember another word for maze from last week. But when he had finished, the king's favour turned, and he threw Daedalus and his son Icarus into the tower at the top of the maze. "Let's get on one of those boats," shouted Icarus, pointing towards the sea. "No," replied Daedalus, "that's too dangerous. The king's men guard every ship that leaves the island." Icarus looked at the wall surrounding them on top of the tower. "We'll never get out of here," he sighed. So there's a little pause for you here now. Can you think of 3 words to describe how they would feel at this point in the story? So pause your video and see if you can think of those 3 words. Okay, I think they'd be very fed up, maybe miserable, bored, perhaps a little bit determined to think of a way to get off the top of that tower. But Daedalus was looking up at the sky, watching the seagulls fly through the air. Swoop, swoop, swoop they went all around the tower and then off into the distance. "I've got it!" Daedalus leapt up, pointing his finger towards the birds. "We'll fly out of here." Icarus and his father set about gathering feathers. "Here's one," exclaimed Icarus. "Bring it over here," Daedalus instructed his son as he sat moulding the feathers together with wax. Eventually their work was done, and Daedalus held up 2 pairs of beautiful feather wings. Daedalus fitted the wings to his own shoulders and then gave a pair to Icarus. They moved around slowly at first until they could wave their arms up and down like birds. "Remember," said Daedalus to his son, "never fly too high. The blaze of the sun will melt the wax on your feathers if you go too near it." But Icarus wasn't listening. He was too excited. He was about to fly for the first time. He watched as his father took to the sky. Then he lifted his arms and began flapping. Up, up, up he went. He could see the island of Crete disappearing below his feet. Where do you think he might fly? And what do you think is going to happen to him? Because he wasn't listening to what his father had said. I wonder where he will go. Icarus looked around. He could no longer see his father. The air grew warmer and warmer. His arms seemed heavy and tired. The light feather wings that had carried him into the clouds were beginning to fall away as the wax melted. Then he remembered the words of his father Daedalus. "Don't fly too high." He looked up, and the sun was beating down on his back. The wax had melted, and the feathers had come loose. Suddenly he was falling down, down, down towards the sea. "Father!" he shouted. Daedalus watched with sadness from the sky as soon as his son hit the water with a heavy splash. So Icarus was a little bit silly, really, didn't listen to his father, and the wax that they'd used to make their wings melted off. But Icarus and his father were keen inventors, so Daedalus was much better at inventing. Icarus was not so good at listening. What I'd like you to do today for your task is to invent some wings so that you can more safely fly. So maybe wax wasn't the best choice for them. You can make some real wings, some real model wings if you like, but I'd also like you to write me some instructions for how to make them with some pictures of each step. So you can have your dream wings, really, if you write me the instructions. But if you do want to make some as well, that's brilliant. I'd love to see some of your pictures. Let's have a look at some examples of how instructions are going to work first, though. So here's an example of some instructions for how to plant a sunflower seed. So we've got what you need. So you'll need to think for your wings, what will you need? And then we've got a what to do, what you do to make these wings. And you need to make sure you write each instruction in order so that they make sense. So you can use your time words if you want to help you. If you use those, make sure you put a comma after them. So for example here, first, comma, then, comma, next, comma. You don't need to have those in every instruction if you don't want to, but do make sure you put your instructions in order. If you don't want to use bullet points, you might choose to number them 1, 2, 3, and so on all the way down. So that's one example of how you could do your instructions. Here's another one for a recipe, how to make some fruit pizzas. It might be nice to have a go at these as well. So when you do your what you'll need, use some bullet points to separate each thing that you'll need to make your wings. When you do your what you do, as well as making sure that they're in order, the most important thing for instructions is that you use your imperative verbs. So they're your bossy words. For example, look here, place. Things that tell you what to do, the bossiness. Place, spread, cut, put. You might have cut, you might have place, you might have attach, you might have join, you might use the word glue. All those things you might need to explain each instruction in your wing making, okay? You can also have a bit of a top tip here. Maybe a top tip for your wings will be, don't use wax to join them, use a stronger glue that won't melt in the sun. Okay, so here is what your instructions probably will look like. You'll need a title. You can use mine if you want, how to make wings to fly like a bird. You'll need to do what you need box with all the things that you'll need to make your wings. You'll need to do a what you do box with your time order, first, comma, cut, or it might be first, collect up, or first, glue, or whatever you want to do. Make sure you write all your instructions down there. You might want to put a top tip in if you want. You don't have to have that. But remember to include some pictures, some step-by-step pictures to help us understand what you're asking us to do in the instructions. Make it much easier, okay? So you can pause your video here so that you'll know how to lay out your instructions. Don't forget to email them to me, send me some pictures of any wings that you've made, and I look forward to seeing your instructions from today. Bye for now.